Right.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Trading Triangle. It's me and Kay once again. How you doing, Kay?
I'm doing great. And for folks who are in the US, happy Mother's Day to everybody.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers in the US. It's different over here in the UK. We had it, I think, 2 months ago. So it's quite a difference, of course. We'll move on to the disclaimer. It's just a couple of guys looking at charts and giving our perspective. So it's not financial advice. It's just something we love to do. And obviously, a massive thank you to Wolf as well for letting us use the platform and letting us use the audience as well. Gets us out there, gets a few more ideas, and gets us a bit more integrated within the industry as well. Just before, obviously, we jump into the slideshow as normal, then please do put the ticker request on the side. I should have prepared that. There we go. I'll stick it up on the screen there for you. If you put that in the comment section, any ticker you want, anything you want to look at, ask us a question, whatever you want to do, we'll be happy to answer it as best possible. And with that, we'll jump into the slideshow, okay, shall we?
Yeah, and then good morning, Justin.
Oh, do we have? Yes, fantastic. Hello, Justin. How you doing? Good to see you once again. I think it's been a couple of weeks since we've been on, so it's good to be back. How has your trading been since the last couple of weeks, okay?
I think it has definitely picked up since the market has also picked up. But still, I'm being on the conservative side. I don't want to over allocate into trading different positions. So sticking with more names that are more, I would say, conservative, or wherever I can see more opportunity. So I would say Google was another one. There's a lot of controversy with Google going on these days. So I always go back to the day when the Meta stock almost fell down to $150, and it was like, oh, Meta is at the end of the road, and look where Meta is today, right? So I think something similar is going to happen. I do agree with a lot of sentiments that the CEO has really botched here, Sundar Pichai. So, I mean, Google will have to do something about it.
I'm sure we'll dive into that a little bit later on as well. I'm sure someone will probably bring that one up.
Yep.
We have to talk about the price action, obviously, because midweek it did drop about 5 or 6%.
That was a massive drop, actually.
It was.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I'll put Google just so that we can bring that topic up.
Yeah, I'm sure someone will dive into it, of course. But first up, we've got the market overview, and you can actually see Google there on the left side, down 6.52%, which is very, very different to the rest of the Mag 7. Apart from maybe Apple, but you've got Microsoft up 1%, Meta as well, Nvidia, all kind of modestly up 1 or 2%. Where are the rest of them? I can't see them. We've got Tesla down there at 4.69%, which is not too bad. Oh, and Amazon up there on the right side here. You've got just basically 1%. So a bit more of a modest week, a bit flatter, and perhaps maybe a bit more choppy for industry action. It felt like that, at least on my end. Anything else you want to point out here on the chart, okay?
No, I think pretty good. You covered it. But all I'll say is that for Tesla, we did see Tesla breaking the 300, and that's been a while.
Yeah, and I think it's just below there now, isn't it? But
it closed the day under 300, but it was good to see that it was above 300, 303, something like that. So it's a good sign.
Yeah. And I'm sure we'll get that request a little bit later on as well, because there's plenty of news around Tesla. You can see actually the health technology section here has been a bit of a hit as well. Lots of red around that sort of area. So I'm wondering if that would be maybe an opportunity for the future, perhaps. We'll see what happens there. That's it really for the market overview. It's been a bit of a mixed week, and we can see that in the numbers in just a second. So we've got SPY basically flat and QQQ basically flat, and obviously we'll jump into those charts in a couple of slides' time. We've got a few key events. Do you want to talk through these, Kay?
Sure. So update on China deal or any other deal that is happening, and most recently, I think a couple minutes ago before we started the live, we saw the update from Besen that they will provide an update, which is very constructive, apparently, with the China talks in Switzerland. So what that basically means is that most likely, just for that event, the market is probably going to open green. And then after they make after they provide an update, I think market will do an assessment whether it has any material change or not. And if they are going to talk about lowering the tariff rates, like how Donald Trump suggested, around 80%. So most likely that's going to be the case. And if China reciprocates with dropping their tariff to 80%, I think we could probably see a little bit of a bull run. As you wrote down here, Fed speaks all week. So all the Fed folks are speaking. CPI report coming out. I think that's going to be impactful, I would say, as long as the inflation doesn't take up. Should be fine. PPI, and then Jerome Powell on Thursday. We already have heard from him last week. So I don't see anything major changing, but again, who knows?
Yeah, I'm back to that Besant thing as well. The talks on the China thing. They actually going to release more details of that tomorrow morning. So expect a little bit more volatility around market open tomorrow. So just be careful if you're trading around those times. Maybe give it a couple of hours for the market mature, let it settle, and then maybe think about taking some trades throughout the rest of the day. Obviously, that's not advice, but it's kind of how I would think about the market open tomorrow as well. But yeah, plenty going on this week for sure. We've got earnings as well. But before that, we'll jump into the fear and greed index. We're now sitting in greed, which seems like a long time ago now, but we were sitting right down at 3, I believe, a little while ago. But even just 1 month ago, we were sitting at 12. So the market is emotional, to say the least. So we're back to being in greed. Do you see this going to extreme greed? You kind of hinted a bit there with obviously all the talks, the positive talks around CPI potentially and tariffs, etc. So we could end up there next week potentially.
Most likely, but if you look at the spy chart, which we will cover in a few minutes, I mean, we are still not out of the woods yet, right?
No, no.
So this could again be a bounce, and then we could take a level down again as usual.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. But before that, we'll talk into the earnings as well. We've got a few big names on here. We've got obviously Alibaba, which is a kind of general Chinese stock, of course. We've got Walmart there as well, another big name. And you've got JD and C, which respectively in Asia, they're very big. Anything else you're looking at? There's a few kind of popular names here as well, which I've just jumped into. But
Yeah, so for me, it's not a great week in terms of like none of the names are there for me personally, except Monday.com. That's one that I'll probably look at it just because it's a SaaS company. The other one will probably be Applied Materials Thursday after close, and then maybe Walmart just to get the gauge on what are they seeing from a consumer standpoint. That's pretty much it for me.
yeah, there's a few kind of popular names as well. You've got Rigetti, which is obviously quantum stock. You've got ASTS, which is space kind of integration stock as well. So there's lots of kind of little names this week. You've got Oklo, that's always a kind of interesting one, a nuclear one. And Iris Energy as well, people kind of like that, which is ticker symbol IREN. It's related to Bitcoin mining. So there's definitely going to be a lot of volatility around these sorts of names this week. Just be careful if you've got those in your portfolio. Make sure you steady the ship before taking it through earnings. But before that, not before that, what was I talking about? Next is what I should be saying is the SPY chart for this week. And I've kind of left it as it is. So 2 weeks ago, I had this circle drawn. I thought this was going to be a key place to get to. And if you count back maybe about 10 candles, we were about here last time. So we kind of did make it up into this circle. But we've kind of pushed up above the 50 moving average, which is white line flowing through. And obviously we've got the volume here on the right side as well. So maybe we are just using that as a bit of support heading into this week. And maybe we can get a bit more of a push, especially with these, good words. It's not concrete decisions or anything like that, but good words have come out in the last hour or so. So that will definitely excite the market. Perhaps we'll probably gap up tomorrow anyway.
Yeah.
How long that lasts, we'll see. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the SPY at the moment?
So from a technical standpoint, if you draw the volume profile, the place where the SPY is around the 564, 565 is where the majority of the volume shelf, and it's just a pretty big volume shelf, right? We have these moving averages kind of around there as well. But also the 570 was a resistance all the way going back to the September 926. So you see that as previous resistance, right? So that would be acting as you would need a decisive breakout from there, and probably a retest, and then heading back up before we say, hey, we are actually climbing up, because this could very well be another test to that level of 570, 575, and then probably take another leg lower. So I would be very careful at these levels here, because the point is, from an event standpoint, this is a really traders market, right? You take advantage of all these news events, profit and get
Yeah.
out. If you just invest and you have this mindset, okay, the news comes out and we are all the way to back to all time highs. Well, in reality is we haven't got any trade deals yet except with the UK, which was also very lukewarm, and technically in the footnote says this is non-binding. So as the only thing we got was a couple things off on Rolls Royce and stuff like that. So I think China is going to be the final boss in trade deals, and I don't think you will see any substantial agreements anytime soon. And if it happens, then great. I think we have solved the problem. But you haven't had any trade deals with Japan yet, nothing with South Korea, nothing with Canada, nothing with European Union, nothing with India so far.
Yeah, it's definitely a trader's market for that reason, I think, because it's going to be so choppy with all the news, as you mentioned. So keep that in mind. Obviously, when you're trading, maybe tail away from the swing trades. Not to say you can't swing trade. There's definitely opportunities out there within the market that can be seen, and perhaps we'll look at that in a little while. Just before I do that, we've got a few kind of suggestions coming through, but we would like some more tickers as well. So if you are watching, stick your tickers in the comments, and we'll get to that in probably about 10-15 minutes time after our picks of the week, which we've got some exciting picks of the week, which we'll get into in a bit. But yeah, before we do that, we'll move on to the QQQ chart, which is pretty similar to the SPY chart. Similar, well, exactly the same pretty much if you look at them, if you just keep doing this. So yeah, we can't really talk too much on this one, but it is in a similar sort of area and looking like it's going to be using that as support. What I did see actually on the SPY chart was potentially head and shoulders, like the inverse head and shoulders. So we've got the kind of arm coming up to the shoulder here, coming back down to the neckline, down here with the head. I know it's a bit of a skew with head, but it's still a violent head. Coming back up to potentially the neckline, and maybe we retrace back down to these levels before we make a move higher. And that could be in conjunction with all the tariff news, etc., and whatever Donald Trump says next. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting time. Anything you want to mention on QQQ, or should we move on?
I think it's a similar one, and most of the tech earnings are pretty much over. I think the only big one left is Nvidia, right? I think that's the only one left.
Yeah, they're normally last, aren't they? So
yeah,
I think everyone else is done for sure. Tesla's first and Nvidia's last.
Yeah, Nvidia comes on 5/28, so we still got 2 weeks at least before it's after Memorial Day. So
nice. What do you think about just a bit unrelated? What do you think about Amazon buying AMD stock?
Amazon buying AMD? I did not hear that news.
Yeah, Amazon, they bought AMD stock. I think it was like 80 million worth or something like that. I can't remember the numbers exactly. It had an 8 in it, but
So they're not able to run their own business now. They have to get into stock investment and trading also.
I don't know. They've got so much free cash flow. They might as well put it somewhere, I guess. I guess that's the idea anyway.
I mean, did not push the stock that higher. I mean, it's still hanging around the trend line.
The advanced money destroyer continues, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We'll move on to my pick of the week then. This week I've got SOFI, which is actually one of your names, but I kind of like this because it's setting up for a potential breakout. As you can see on the screen here, we've got some price action coming up from about $9 and kind of currently about 13. Posted some really good consistent earnings recently, and we haven't really seen a move from that. We had a bit of a push on that day, but as it kind of always happens really for SOFI, we get a bit of a push and we get a drop off straight away. You can see it here as well. You can see the green shield, and up here we've got a bit of a drop down from the last earnings. So there is definitely potential for this to kind of move higher, but what I would like to see is a general thing around my kind of my trading strategy is a push higher above this and maybe come back down and retest it and obviously make a move higher. I've got this currently set about 16% up here, about $16. That's just where the volume is. But I would like this and would expect this to push a lot higher if we do get a bit of a momentum. These kinds of names, they do kind of move, but we do need to get through this kind of 1360 to 1380 level. Obviously, that line is not exact, but it's just kind of where I've got it from now. So there's definitely something on the table there for SOFI. But contrary to that, we could have a push down. So if we do get a breakdown, maybe get some downturn in the news, of course, then, of course, I'm looking for this area down here between around about 1020 to 1120 for obviously a take profit zone to short it if we break that trend line. I know you like SOFI K. What are your current thoughts on the chart and perhaps the stock as well?
I think with SOFI the issue that I see, it's right now it's still trending on a downtrend, right? We are the last right?
Because we've had this downtrend here, but we've actually made a couple of higher lows. Is it? Maybe I'm being.
Yeah, but what is the catalyst for SOFI? The earnings are over.
Yeah,
right?
No.
The earning is over, and I think if the market in general is going higher, we'll probably pull SOFI. But I think SOFI is a great trading stock, honestly, for me personally.
Yeah.
So you can get in, get out, tight stop losses. I sell options. I get the wheel strategy in and out. So as an investor, probably I don't really have much of an opinion. I don't think it's a bank or it's a like I know there's a big SOFI group. I understand it's AWS, but it's a great trading stock, and trade SOFI as much as you can.
And that's why I've got it on the screen. So I want to trade it.
Trade it, yeah.
No, I'm looking forward to this one this week. I'm not too sure what happened last time. I think I had him, so I must have destroyed you because I went up by 50%. But we won't talk about that. And you had Apple, I think.
What did I have?
I think you had Apple. So there's no point even looking, Kay. Must be 8-0 by now.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, you can find me on X as always. Obviously, Sean Trades _ I had a bit of a brief break on that. You know what it's like. You get a bit kind of busy with life and you want to calm down, so you don't really post as much. But I'm looking to get back into that in the next couple of weeks. It'll be fun. Obviously, daily trading insights. You can also find me on YouTube, which is consistent uploads around trading videos, more towards kind of psychology and strategy as well. And of course, TTR on the screen there, which is the trading community, which you can get involved in via the link in my X profile as well. So yeah, go and check them out. And obviously, you've got Kay's chart up next, which is Mara. I haven't bought this one for a while, have you?
Yeah, as you can see, because the markets are improving, some of the older names are starting to pop up as trading opportunities now. So a couple things on Mara that I will share is that, so first, if you can see the 50-day SMA, and I have my chart up here, that's why I'm looking a little bit up here. So the Mara is above the 50-day SMA, so that's a very, very good sign. It's a bullish momentum. We do have the resistance, which is the purple line for 200-day SMA, which is sitting around 1710. So the key would be that is going to play a very major role, whether Mara is able to break out and have a run up or not. We recently had what Bitcoin was over $100,000 recently, right?
We had a bit of a push yesterday as well. Went up a couple of thousand.
Okay.
It's up to about 104, 105-ish.
103,984 current price. So as you can see, and then Mara also reported earnings. So they did pretty decent in the earnings as well. The RSI is approaching 63, but Mara has, if you go back to the chart for Mara for for a couple quarters, you will see Mara can sustain staying above 70 for a long time, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. So it's not to say that it cannot stay above in the overbought territory. Also, I see the MACD, the momentum is still bullish, but I think it really depends on the breakout, on whether we see it or not. So I think caution is important. So in short, I would say it is bullish if it can break above the 1710, and again, it will be bearish if it fails to clear that level. So I do have a trade idea, which will be a straddle, and that trade idea actually goes on my Substack that I have published as my trade idea. So feel free to subscribe there. It is, I will make a disclaimer, it is a paid Substack. So if you want trade ideas like this every week, feel free to subscribe to it. But I do have, but the chart, the article does open after a week or so. For free viewers to, you can go back and check how the trade performed if you just want from an analysis standpoint. So that's what I'm looking at, mostly a straddle because I see either it's going to be a breakout or a breakdown from 1710, and straddle gives you a good opportunity.
I like it. This level here, we're kind of 1482, which you've got this line drawn. As you mentioned, obviously the previous resistance. What I would like to see is actually a brief touch back down to that kind of level before making a move higher. And that can fix both of our problems.
And actually, when you do a 4-hour chart, it actually did a test at the 4-hour chart.
Right. So I've missed it already, is what you're saying.
No.
Yeah,
absolutely right. So a daily doesn't show that, but if you go down the different time scale, you will see that touch, what you were mentioning.
And I think that's an important point, actually. So obviously, we're looking at daily charts more often than not when we do these live sessions every Sunday. But actually, these breaks out and retests and kind of ascending triangles and head and shoulders, they can happen on 5 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour time frame. So just look out for all of these patterns and kind of get your strategy aligned, and you actually do it in shorter time frames. And that's kind of what day trading is. You can potentially make a lot more money, of course, if you're doing it more frequently. But that's when emotions come into it, and of course, it becomes trickier the more often you do it. But yeah, I mean, looking at that kind of line there, 1482, I'd be looking for it to maybe come back down, maybe retest 15-ish, and obviously make a move towards that 17 level. Something even as small as that. I mean, that's 15%. That's not too bad, just off the cuff. If you're trading options, of course, you can elevate that quite nicely if you do the end of the week option, although that's not recommended.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, that's a really cool pick, actually. I'm going to write that one down in just a second. But first of all, let's move on to see where we can find you. You mentioned the Substack here, which is this one here.
Substack. So I'll start off with Substack this time. So I did. So I have started writing Substack more regularly now because I do have paid subscribers on Substack. So of course I have to prioritize that first, and then of course YouTube videos will always be posted as well on a weekly basis, and then you do see me posting pretty regularly on Twitter as well. So uh, as much value as I can provide based on the time I have available, but of course the Substack takes priority.
You're around and about. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Right, that concludes obviously our picks of the week. We've got the audience requests now. If you put the tickers in the comments, we'll happily get to them. We don't have much in the actual pipeline. We normally get quite a lot, but I imagine because Mother's Day, everyone's spending time with their families, makes a lot of sense. But if you are watching, do not be afraid to stick the tickers in. We've had Justin already sticking about 3 or 4, so he's the main player at the moment. And if not, obviously we'll just pick random tickers to have a look at. Won't we?
Yeah, we'll go with a couple max sevens that we generally go through during request, and yeah, we'll.
Exactly right. Let me just get the charts ready. I'll get them up in just 1 second. Okay, here we go. Let's get that up. Awesome. Right, where's first?
First is Microsoft.
Microsoft. Wow, this one's doing pretty well at the moment, isn't it?
I think it is because it has been in the dumps for a long time now, actually.
Big gap up after earnings, as you can see there. It's just kind of plodding a little bit higher. I guess with the market as well, it kind of feels like it's plodding a bit higher as well.
Yeah.
So perhaps this is one of the main drivers for the market at the moment, although probably not. I'm not too sure. What do you think? Do you think Microsoft is pushing up the market?
I think so. I didn't follow the why did we have this gap up because of the OpenAI revising terms of partnership with contract, something like that?
I actually don't really know. I didn't really listen to the earnings call.
Was it last week earnings call?
No, the week before.
The week before, yeah. So,
Yeah.
wow, that's but hey, you have this big gap up, so I expect the gap to be filled. This is too close. You'll probably see the resistance will come around the 447, the previous resistance of 447, right? 445, 4. So, from a trading opportunity standpoint, right? I mean, we would see probably resistance there, and then I would like to see if we can maintain this support at 427. So I think that's the range I'm looking at for Microsoft.
I'm going to say something a little bit different here, and this might be a bit of food for thought for Justin, who's obviously got both sides of the coin there. You're thinking perhaps a bit more negatively, but I think a little bit more positively, just because of what I see on the chart here. You've got a descending trend line coming down here. Obviously, it's not perfectly drawn, but we did poke out of it on Thursday, and then obviously subsequently kind of retested it on Friday. I'll zoom in so people can see a bit more. So perhaps we are maybe using that as a bit of support. And of course, with the over the weekend news, maybe get a bit of excitement. It might just propel Microsoft a little bit higher. I don't know how much higher it would go. Perhaps, obviously, like you said, at the resistance around these levels here, or even if we can get to kind of all-time high territory around 467. It's not huge numbers, but if you're looking for kind of a smaller percentage move, perhaps Microsoft might be the one for it. But like you said before, this could just be a fake out, potentially what I'm trying to say, coming back down to 420. Yeah.
So if you think about it, right? So from the point you have a 5% upside to the all-time highs, right? But if you look at the gap fill, that will happen. That's a 9% drop.
9%. I can see it on the screen there, yeah.
Almost 10%, 9.75. So
I do think there will be a lot of support at 420 though, just because you've got loads of volume in this area as well. So not to say it won't eventually get through that support to the downside, but a lot of things I think would have to happen for that to happen. That makes sense.
Correct.
Yeah.
But the point is that your upside potential is smaller than the downside.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So basically, I'm going to stay away from this.
But my assumption is Microsoft is such a massive name. Most people have it in their portfolio either directly or indirectly via ETFs. So they are exposed to Microsoft. So
yeah. No, awesome. All right, what have we got next?
Next is UNH, also from Justin. I think that's United Healthcare, right?
It is, yeah. This
While
one
you
is
do the
still in the toilet.
while you do the technical, let me look up if there's any news related stuff that's going on.
And we had poor earnings about 3-4 weeks ago, and ever since then it's just kept dropping and dropping and dropping.
Missed the you want to hear they missed the revenue by $2 billion.
Oh, I mean, this is the weekly chart as well, and it's not looking good for the weekly chart because we're at the 200 moving average. It looks like we're just going to plow straight through it.
Listen, I really think if you like the name, it is trading below its 200-day and 300-day moving averages, right? So it might not be a bad idea from an long-term investing standpoint to start, nibbling here, start to build a position. Of course, you don't build your entire position in one go, but from an investing standpoint, if you like the name, if you like the healthcare sector, I think taking advantages of these massive drops is important. Not to
With
say
that,
that it
though,
will not go
yeah,
down, but
yeah, with that, you have to do your research into kind of why this is dropping, and potentially what's the reason for this dropping. Is it that something else is kind of taking its place? Is it that the product is not that good enough
well,
anymore?
so it's an
You need to take that
insur-
into
so
account.
it's an insurance company, right? It's an
Right.
insurance
Okay.
company. There is no other product. So because I have worked in insurance company, I can tell you, United Healthcare is a massive organization. It's not a joke. Uh, but from a healthcare standpoint, healthcare will always it's pretty practically recession proof. When you had 2008-9 financial crisis, healthcare always had jobs. You had even the COVID time, healthcare had jobs, right? So healthcare is a very very um, recession proof industry. Doesn't mean that the stock cannot go down, but sometimes you have these overreactions because of earnings, because of certain news events. Like the stock dropped when they had the CEO was shot, remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
And but the
That's,
stock
yeah.
ran back up. Remember, from there the stock ran back up again. So
That sort of area. That's sad news, that, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. So I mean, these drops are good buying opportunities if you are a healthcare investor and you want to invest in healthcare.
Let's have a look at my 2 week chart. I quite like the 2 weeks at the moment for some reason. Yeah, kind of hovering around that kind of 50 moving average for the 2 week chart. So we kind of bounced off of it in 2020, and that big drop, of course. And just like we're kind of plowing through that. So maybe the 200 moving average on the 2 weekly chart is $300. So still another $80 to go. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a dividend stock, right? So it's a pretty big name from a dividend investor standpoint. And if you don't want to invest specifically in this particular stock, then there is I think the ETF is XLV, I think.
XLH.
No, XLVV as in Victor. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, there we go. So this one
yeah,
here, yeah.
yeah.
So that's probably not helping the actual ETF as a whole either. Looks
No.
like I've drawn a line here actually at 132. We're kind of at that level now, which is interesting. I think that's just because of the volume you can see on the right side there.
So in this ETF, Eli Lilly is 12%, Johnson and Johnson is 7.68%, and United Healthcare is 7.27%. So it's a pretty big percentage that they hold. It's 100% ETF, healthcare ETF. So
There you go. We hope that helps, Justin. Obviously, we covered that quite extensively, of course, because we don't have many tickers today. The next one, I think, is Carver. Am I right?
Kawa, yes, and Kawa is reporting earnings on Thursday, I believe.
I suppose what we could do after this is have a look at some stocks that have earnings. How about that?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I'll pull that up as well. So Kawa, let's see. So Kawa has a short interest of 7.81%. The stock is fairly expensive, $93, right? That's
So I've drawn this zone here between 96-ish and 110. I don't know why. I think it's just because they've still got the resistance here and the support here. And we've dropped below that, obviously, in recent weeks, probably the last 2-3 months worth. And we're coming up to that as a bit of resistance. So it'd be interesting to see what the earnings can bring. Maybe we can get a push back above the zone. That'd be interesting to see if we come back down and retest it. But it's one of those stocks that kind of, I mean, I dare I say it might be a bit of a meme stock just because of the way it's moved and what it actually produces, which is not quality. No, it's not. I mean, is it a quality product? Would you
yeah,
say?
it is a pretty quality
We
product.
don't have it here over in the UK.
Yeah, so it's basically if you think about Chipotle, right? Chipotle is Mexican burrito, rice bowl, and all that. This is more Mediterranean focused. The food is pretty good, and every time I have gone to Kava, it's always busy. So for the earnings, if you want to play earnings, keep in mind that their average move, actual move is about 6.2%, but they predict that it will move about 12% or so, right? So that's always a prediction. And the options market, generally 83% of the times, they overestimate the move on either direction.
Yeah. And when is the earnings?
Earning is this Thursday.
Not that far away then. Okay.
Yeah, it's 5:15. So 5:15 is Thursday, right? Let me see. 5:15 is Thursday, yes. I
We
think it's after
do.
market close.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think we saw actually on the earnings tab. Um, we do have a little bit of an ascending triangle that has played out, and we kind of pushed above that, come back down and retested it. We do have the 200 moving average as well in that kind of area, so maybe we get another little push down before that, but it's hard to kind of trade that before earnings. So maybe look at these levels after earnings on Thursday.
So I think for the individual that asked for the Kawa, Charles, I think you can probably do a straddle, like, because you don't know whether it will go up or not. So you can buy a call and you can buy a put, um, and you can pick up the level. I think I think playing straddle is probably the best outcome, because we don't know which direction it will move. But you'll have to go. Don't do this week, because you will have an IV crush right after earnings. So you probably have should look 2 or 3 weeks out for the straddle. I think that would be the best way if you want to play earnings.
There you go. Heard it here first. Nice. I think we covered Carver quite well there.
Next is Justin asked if we can do Amazon. Yeah, why not?
Of course. The post earnings movement's been okay, actually. So we've got the earnings report that happened. Bring that up a bit.
How was it?
Um,
Did you track the Amazon earnings? I did not.
I didn't actually know. Not in detail. Obviously, I saw they did quite well, but they were impacted obviously by tariffs. Generally in certain areas of the business. Obviously, there's a bit of apprehension around that. But I really want it to return to this $200 level, and I do think it is on its way. I just want to see how it reacts at that level, whether we get a push through. We can see here we did push through it back in March, but obviously the market was a bit different back then. A little bit more uncertainty around then, of course. A lot more fear, should we say. It came back down to retest it and just failed and came back lower because obviously events that happened. What I would like to see is a push back above 200, come back down and retest it. So we've got lots of volume here at this level, and then make a move higher. And I would like to enter Amazon about $200 because it is a money-making machine. It's a free cash flow machine. It's just bought a ton of AMD for some reason. So can't be that bad, eh?
Listen, I hope AMD goes up because Amazon bought it, but it doesn't seem like that happened.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course, but we'll see. But yeah, 200 level is definitely a key player for me, Justin. That's definitely one that I'm looking at. What are you looking for with Amazon, then, Kay?
Definitely breaking the 200. It's a psychological level for the stock.
Yeah, so nothing else. Just waiting for that 200 to break.
Yeah. I mean, it's a Max 7. It's a no brainer. I mean, we can debate about, hey, is Google better or is Amazon better or is Apple better? Generally, you don't get wrong with Max 7.
No, just buy the S&P.
Even Tesla, even though it has hit a pretty bad brand image, I think still Max 7s are there. I see Ken responds, US-China deal just announced 1 minute ago. We are about to break through 200-day. I don't think was a deal announced. All I heard was Besant saying, "Hey, we have updates."
We're actually above the 200-day anyway, aren't we?
Breaking: US announces China trade deal in Geneva. Great.
So that I think that might just be what
It's a breaking news 5 minutes ago. Yeah. A deal with China being completed this fast is absolutely unprecedented and historic. The devil is in the detail, but if the deal is good, this is not priced in.
And the detail will come tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that. We're way above the 200 moving average, which is what Ken said. So yeah, expect a gap up tomorrow if this is going to be the news that people are expecting. Because of course it will be excitement.
So it's going to be super excitement. Listen, it's going to be super excitement, and when actually they will look into the details, it might if it's a nothing burger, you will come down just as fast as you went up. Because hey, if the deal was as like UK deal, then have fun. Yeah. I mean, it's great. Think about it. I mean, if they were able to negotiate with Chinese in 2 sessions, you have to hats off to this administration because they haven't been able to pull anything from European Union, Canada, Mexico, Japan, South Korea. If they did it with China,
I mean, that could potentially set the standard as well for future meetings. Yeah, it'd be
I mean,
interesting
then,
to see.
then it's game over, right? Then it's game over for the other players. But we'll
Yeah,
see.
awesome. Well, we'll go back to the charts then. We've got SMR that's going to be come up. Did you get that one up? Okay, I
I
think.
do have SMR, yes.
Hello, Keen. Um, so we'll get that one up. It is a New Scale Power Corporation. Don't actually know what they do, but we have brought this one up before because there's a line on the chart. So not too sure when that was, but I like it actually, just from a purely technical point of view. I'd have to dive in a little bit more to what they do because they do have a lot of red badges on the screen, which is the earnings reports. These are all red at the bottom here. So something to be concerned about. Perhaps they're not performing on all levels. But we do have obviously a big resistance here set back in July of last year. Lots of price action in between, kind of above that green line. I'll make it a little bit brighter and bigger so people can actually see the reference point I'm talking about. But we do have successive higher lows coming up here towards this obviously major support and resistance. And looks like we might just be breaking out of that potentially. So I actually really like this one. I'm thankful. I'm very thankful. What I'm trying to say is I'm very thankful for Kado Keen to bring this one up. I think people might just come on here just to laugh at my speaking. Would be hilarious, right? But it's just how I am. I don't care. Take it for what it is.
Great. No, listen. I
Yeah,
mean, this is a two-way street, right? You give us ideas for these stickers. We take a look at these stickers and like, oh, this could be a good trading opportunity. So
exactly. And we've got that wedge there, as I've kind of just spoke about. But there you go. It's drawn out. Perhaps we're going to move higher. And then I'd be looking for this kind of level, wherever it might be. Then that's a really good return. It's not too bad. It's about 20-30%. Oh, just select the line properly. Do you trade this one much, or have you heard about it?
no, this is the first time I'm hearing it.
34%. There you go. That's not.
That's amazing.
That's pretty good. I'm going to write that one down. So thank you, Kado. I like it. I'll have to dive a little bit more into kind of what they do, but yeah, no, we appreciate that.
So next one is Mark asked Palantir and Amazon. We just covered Amazon right before the sticker, so you can rewind and check it out. Let's go to Palantir.
Palantir, obviously, we had earnings on Monday. Again, I didn't actually see the coverage on that because I was a bit busy on that evening. But we do have a green badge down here, as you can kind of see down here. So it must have been good earnings, which is good to see. Maybe the street is thinking potentially are a little bit overvalued now, which is maybe why we got a bit of a drop the day after. But it seems to have kind of semi-recovered. I'm guessing that might be with the kind of market and how it's been. But I'm guessing breaking out of this double top would be nice because we've got a very clean double top here at this 125 level. But I know what you're going to say. It's had a run. It's time for it to kind of move sideways. Am I right?
Listen. I'm going to say at some point in time, valuations do matter. It's a 276 or 77 billion dollar company, and the revenue they generate every quarter is less than $1 billion. So I understand the potential, but the point is you have already priced in all the growth,
Yeah.
right? For 25, 26 at least, right? Couple of years growth. So now they have to increase their revenue, they have to increase their gross profit, reduce their expenses, and become profitable, right? I mean, increase their profit. You cannot have a $300 billion company, market cap company, generating $1 billion. That's
Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
doesn't make sense from an investing standpoint, right? I mean, because people have already made money on Palantir. Like I know
Oh, a lot of
people,
money.
yeah, people have a cost basis of single digit, $5, $6. So if you think you're going to add Palantir at $117 and expect to have a same return as those people at 7 and 10, because my cost basis is $26 or $25, something like that.
So from the beginning of last year, we're up 628%.
Exactly. So everything is already priced in. So if you think that it's going to go from 117 to $1,000, I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
that happening is very low.
and we're not saying to short it. We're just saying potentially it's not the right time to buy it.
Yeah. I mean, we are not shorting it, but we are saying the upside potential of Palantir from here, from when it was in the 50s or 40s or 20s, there's less runway for the stock to run.
But I mean, if you did get in here or anywhere along this run and you're still
Yeah,
holding it, then
listen,
congratulations, you're killing
exactly. I
it.
know you were a big I bought Palantir because of you, not because I was interested.
There you go. So that's why we do these live streams, because we get ideas from each other, not just the crowd, but each other as well. Awesome. Should we move on to
What?
Spotify?
This one I don't remember actually reviewing it before.
No, we've done shop a lot, SHOP, but not SPOT. Spotify, I just don't really understand why you would invest in this, because it's not the most exciting company, is it? It just plays music, audio books, and I think that might be it. Could be a podcast, maybe.
I mean, I know that there are fans of Spotify.
Oh, of course, it might
I
be.
don't use Spotify, so anything that I don't use, I don't bother to.
I mean, they're doing very well. The stock's up very nicely in the last couple
Yeah,
of
I
years.
think it's a pretty solid stock. Don't get me wrong. And the short interest is only 3%, 3.5%.
Do you reckon a stock like this in the future could pay a dividend?
Probably, right? At some point in time, like all the Max 7s are paying dividends, so that definitely could be on the cards, and that might push the stock higher.
It's a $600 stock as well, so there's definitely
It's an expensive stock to.
either
But
that or a split. Who knows?
I think split is most likely the outcome at some point in time, right? They do have a gap actually. I'm just looking at this chart.
This one here.
Yeah, if you're looking to buy, I think keep an eye on the stock. This could be an opportunity if you see this pullback on Spotify, right?
Yeah, it's got a few red earnings reports. You can't quite see it on the screen. Maybe if I do that. But down the bottom here, you've got the red ones here. But the stock doesn't really seem to care about that, because it jumped up there, and we did have a bit of a pullback, but it bounced back straight away after that earnings report.
It's a pretty awful earnings history they have, right? They have been missing earnings left, right, and center.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
How the stock kind of reacts to that as well. That's it for the requests we've got. Maybe we go through a few earnings that we've got. Do we have any interesting stocks we can check for the earnings that are coming up this week?
If you want to check Monday, we can check Monday. It's on monday.com. MNDY, I think.
There we go.
Yeah. So I've been eyeing this stock for a very, very long time. I did get into a position a couple of times and then I sold it. So the right now the fair value that I see, at least from Simply Wall Street, is about $342, $343. The stock is trading around 278. This particular stock, so if you're looking at the fair value from this point, you're looking at about an upside of 22%, and it's from a long term perspective, this is still trading in a range. I would say it's still going, higher highs from a long term chart. But then most recently, right, we have seen this resistance around the 282.
So it's definitely going in the right direction.
Yeah,
for sure. We do have. I mean, your fair value is 342. You said, yeah.
342.96. Yeah, so 343 basically.
Yeah, so that's that line I've got drawn on the screen there with the fair value.
Yeah,
it's not all time highs, but it's recent highs. So if we were to bring that down perhaps to here, 318, 320, if we can get back above or around there, then that could be interesting for me at least.
Yeah, they did hit that fair value back in February 11th, right? And then after hitting that level, they basically, got rejected.
Yeah, interesting one. It's not one I trade or look at, to be honest. So I'm glad you've got a few thoughts on that. But it seems to be going in the right direction. I don't hate that.
Hey, we got a request for Lyft that we were talking about.
Oh yeah, we're talking about before the stream, weren't we?
Yeah.
So what I want to know, Kado Keen, is do you use Lyft or do you use Uber?
I use Uber because before the pricing was Lyft was cheaper. Now the pricing is pretty similar, so I don't need to have two apps to do the same job. That's why.
Do you know what's really frustrating here is I've obviously done some sort of research previously. This purple trend line's come down. I've actually drawn a potential trade here of 10%, and it's just gone and done that. I hate it when that happens. You
You
go
should
back to a chart.
you should have had a call option on Lyft, and you would have banked decent amount on this
Oh
one.
yeah, God yeah. If anyone had calls going into this earnings, then well done, fantastic. Bit of a gamble, but well done. Um, yeah, I mean, going forward though, what we should probably be looking at is maybe the potential where we're going to go. If it does continue to go to the upside, obviously this most recent high is definitely a point of contact, which is 1860 thereabouts. If we can get it back above that and then maybe come down and retest it, that would be ideal as well. But I do think we do have a gap here. I know that's what you're going to say. We do have a gap that's been created. Perhaps we do get a bit of a calm down, and then maybe earnings are not as good as people think, and that will be something that Kay will be looking at. And what are you going to say, Kay? I know you're going to say.
I think the right point. I'll probably short it after 28-30% run up to from the level of what at 1750, the other resistance that you have, right? Somewhere
Well,
there.
back here-ish.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of price action needs to be happening. I wouldn't be buying it or selling it at this point. I would like it to settle probably for a week or so at least before looking at this stock. But it's kind of made its move. We spoke about at the beginning of bringing this one up. I had the move there and I just didn't take it. So it is what it is. It's part of the game. But yeah, no, Lyft. It's an interesting one. I don't know if Uber actually moved with it. Should we check
No,
it?
Uber did move, but not as much as Lyft, of course.
Oh yeah, I mean it was flat.
Yeah,
It
Uber is pretty. So Uber is a prime candidate, and if you think, I mean, Uber has a good run. It was in the 60s when we brought Uber. Now you're sitting at 86 or 84.
I do like this line that I've drawn at $80, and it's come back down and retested it.
Yeah,
I wonder if
80 has a very good options interest also. A lot of interest at $80. So that's where I'm selling most of my puts for Uber, and it's basically staying above that at the end of the week. So
it's a nice little 10% back up there.
we do have two more requests. So we have Hood, which I know is your favorite, and CLOV. I think what is CLOV? Let's see.
I do like Hood only because I've made quite a lot of money on it in the past, and that's enough to like a stock, isn't it? If you make money, you like the stock. Essentially, I mean, at the moment, I'm not really in it. I've kind of made my money and left because it's just so all over the place. But I mean, there's tons of lines on this chart, which is a little bit messy, this chart. So I do apologize if you're looking at this and you're getting a bit of a headache.
Something funny about, since we talk about Hood, right? So I'm not going to take names, but I know that some big influencers who cover both Hood and SOFI, they had a lot of thoughts about why Hood is going to beat SOFI in its game. So I mean, I don't follow it that closely, but that was an interesting take on that. They think Hood is going to outperform SOFI, and maybe that is the case. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're quite different companies. I mean, they're kind of in the same sector, but they're very different in what they offer, at least at the moment. But perhaps maybe Hood's vision is to become a bit more of a bank. I don't think SoFi is looking to be an investing platform anytime soon. But I think Hood's got a bit more of a potential for broader market for sure, and that's why people obviously bring that one up. And I like Hood, of course. I think at the moment it's a bit volatile. I'd like it to stabilize, perhaps. But it's making its moves, and I'm trading it here and there. So that's all I can really wish for. But yeah, going back to the chart, obviously we've got this level of $50. It's not quite there, but the green line you can see there is at $50. Maybe we can come down and retest that and make another move higher, just to keep that kind of higher low system keep going, and then go to all-time highs of around 68. Is that all-time highs? It must be.
Yeah.
I know it had a bit of a push up when it first came out. Oh, there you go. It's not all-time highs, but it's all-time highs is technically 85, which is mad.
Well, that was just it didn't close at 85. It went like it was a midday price action, and that was right at the IPO time. So IPO time, I don't even count that as really. It did hit 65 and got rejected twice from there, 65.37. That was a pretty recent all-time high, I would say.
So what could be a good one is if you're willing to wait a little bit, you've got this potential 70% to be made back to all-time highs on the long one. I'm talking about like a longer swing trade, and you can just have the stop loss trailing up behind the 20-minute average. And if it triggers out, it triggers out. but that's kind of what you get into. That might be something I look into actually. If we get back down to that 50 level, or thereabouts, and maybe enter it for a kind of a longer swing trade back up to.
But I really think that the point of control, or where the majority of the volume shell is around 46.80. So I do think we will see a pullback to those levels. And there is also a gap between 50.59 going to 51.46. That small gap you can trade as well.
This one here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty to be looked at on this chart. It's a tricky one to navigate, but with these kind of companies, you get a lot of volatility, a lot of volume, so there's plenty to kind of get out of them, even on a short-term trading basis. Right, let's move on to the next one. We've got a few kind of coming in now. We'll end with these, and then
So next one is Clove, CLOV. While you're pulling it up, so Adam, we did cover Mara and Palantir both. So Mara was, I think, about, I would say, 20 minutes back we covered.
About that.
Yeah. And then
half an
Palantir
hour.
was just like couple minutes ago. So you can rewind and check it out.
Yeah, so as you said, obviously Mara and Palantir both covered, but now we're looking at Clover Health Investments. I don't know anything about this company. Do you?
It's a healthcare company. I don't trade healthcare that often, so it's a penny stock, $3.5, right? Market cap of 1.7, short interest of 2.95. Give us, in last 1 year they returned 306%. Crazy.
The chart's not giving me anything either, really.
It was like it was an 80-cent stock. The stock ran up in 1 year all the way to
look at that. Wow.
$4.82. So whoever was in there, glad you made money. Hopefully you sold it, and
I love checking the percentages on these moves, because obviously 60 cents there to where we are now, it's 450%.
Yeah.
And look, you could have bought Palantir instead and make more money. But
yeah.
Nothing I can really say on the chart, to be honest. I'm sorry if that disappoints you, Mark, but we do have lots of moving averages underneath it, so perhaps the trend continues to the upside, but it's hard to say, really. Not one I'd be looking at for me personally. But yeah, it's in the right place for further upside. But yeah.
All right, next up is Tesla, then TTD.
Right, we'll finish on TTD then. Call it there. But Tesla, not looking too bad, actually. I brought this up not so long ago on TTR, which is the trading community, but we've got a bit of a break here on the 50 moving average, which is the white line flowing through the screen. So we've got a bit of a break here. And obviously, we mentioned the $300 level earlier, didn't we, Kay, on the opening scenes? We didn't quite hold above it, but perhaps that might be something that Tesla looks to do this week, which is quite incredible, really, given the earnings report they just released. It was incredibly poor, and obviously I know Elon Musk is paying a bit more attention potentially for Tesla. I mean, what are your thoughts on Tesla? I know they're a bit mixed at the moment, but
so if you keep all the noise on the side about Elon Musk and his drama and all that mumbo jumbo, just from a technical standpoint, I think if we can stay above the 300, I think the next level that I look is about 325 to 350. That is the level that, if we can stay above 300, is what we will be targeting, because that's where, again, the volume shelf starts to pile up, and psychological levels at 325, 350.
Yeah, so I've got that drawn on the screen now. We've got the grey line, which I'm kind of currently adjusting, which is 326. Actually acted as a nice support zone back in February. Obviously, subsequently, we broke down, obviously had all this price action in between. But like Kay says, we can break that 300, maybe the first point of action is about there. And then you said 350 as well, didn't you?
Yeah, 325 to 350 is where the big bulk of action happens. Because keep in mind that Tesla does move like $8, $10, $12 is a normal move, 4%, 5%. Tesla moves. So that's not like a unique situation here. So and then also, if you trade options, you sell options or buy. If you sell options or buy options, you do have to pay a lot of premium, or you'll get a lot of premium on Tesla.
Awesome. I definitely want to watch Tesla at the moment. Again, it's a bit more of an erratic stock, so you could trade this on the daily time frame. Within the day, you could day trade it on the hourly time frame, is what I tried to say there. Oh God, these words are coming out of me all different directions. But yeah, I mean, one of those you can kind of day trade with for sure for Tesla. Swing trading at the moment is very difficult within the market generally, let alone Tesla alone. I mean, good luck. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible for sure.
Let's jump to TTD, and then we'll end up with Google, and then wrap it up.
Okay, let's do that then. Just
So
TTD. We've got a bit of a jump on earnings. Sorry.
yeah, so if you see the previous one was a big drop, and then this time we had a gap up on the earnings, and we did have a beat on both top line and bottom line, so that's a good sign. I think it was definitely this earnings report was much better on TTD compared to the last one. Um, I hope you were able to, if you're a long term investor, I hope you were able to build out a position around when it was in the 40s. I think that was an overblown reaction, but it does impact, right? So if the market is very fearful and the spending is pulled back by corporations, they will cut spending on marketing, right? And then that impacts companies like TTD.
Exactly. And hilariously, we must have covered this a few months ago. I've got this purple line drawn here as a bit of support. Of course, I didn't touch it or enter or anything, but it's kind of come off that area nicely,
Yeah,
which is to see that the lines do work sometimes.
yeah.
We use them? No, but they do work sometimes. Awesome. I've got nothing to add really on trade desk.
Let's move to Google and then wrap it up on that.
So Google had some interesting news this week around Apple's potential search engine. I don't think it will do much
It's
personally.
it's a nothing burger as usual. Gene Munster as usual started going on CNBC, and so you see Google, like people are writing off Google like just tomorrow it's going to end. I don't know if people understand who just live in the United States that you're only 330 million people in the United States. There is 7.5 billion people outside the United States that actually use a lot more Android and other Google platforms.
Yeah.
So there's a much bigger population outside the United States as well. And on top of it, Apple's Safari, it's what, 20% of total world traffic? Most of it is from the other Chrome and everything.
I'm not sure,
Google
to be honest
hasn't
with you.
Google hasn't even reported that they have seen a drop uh, uh, in the base itself, right? So when they reported earnings, just because Apple sent a report, of course, people watch Apple a lot, right? So that's the reason. But I can say the same thing. Apple hasn't delivered nothing. It's a nothing burger on Apple Intelligence. Nobody talks about that because Gene Munster and Dan Ives, oh, we're gonna get a great super cycle on what do you call Apple Intelligence. Nothing burger. Nothing happened.
Yeah, that's an interesting one for sure. Which one do you use? Do you use Safari or Google Chrome?
Well, I use both.
Okay, right.
Yeah, I
Both
use
sides
both.
of the coin. So I just use Chrome personally
Yeah,
because
and
I
then
like the tabs at the top.
right, but see, so people who use Perplexity, is that a different browser, or people actually go to Chrome and then use Perplexity?
So I use Perplexity in Google Chrome, yeah, and I use it on
Okay,
my
so
phone
you're
as well.
using Google Chrome to go to Perplexity's URL, and then you
Yeah.
are using. Okay, got it, got
There
it.
is an app on my Mac here. There is an app for Perplexity, but I just use it on the browser. Doesn't make any
Okay,
difference to me. Yeah,
and so a lot of people who mentioned about ChatGPT. So if you use a Mac, you can download the ChatGPT app, right?
yeah,
But the ChatGPT app on Mac is not as good as the browser version. Give you a simple example. On the Mac app, if you create a project, you cannot rename it. You have to go to the website to rename it. So
yeah.
even the apps are not as good as they claim to be. You have to use the browser version. So for that browser, I use both Chrome and Firefox. I don't know if you guys use Firefox or not, but I've been
No.
using Firefox forever.
But we'll circle back to the chart here. Obviously, we've got the interesting day on Wednesday. We had a 5 or 6% drop, something like that. But we did have a really nice bounce off this 150 level, which has been a level of contention for me for quite a few months now. So it's nice to get a bit of a reaction here. Of course, we might just dribble back down to that area, maybe get another bounce, maybe back above that. But what I fully expect maybe Google just to kind of grind back upwards. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be magnificent. You're not going to make a lot of money, but I do expect them to kind of slowly grind back up. It's kind of what Google does from time to time. Of course, we have it here as well, just slowly grinding up. Not pretty, but it's grinding upwards. But I think the key is to get back above that 200 moving average. The longer we stay below that, the longer this pain will last. And that's kind of general around a lot of stocks, not just Google. But yeah, that's my kind of 2 cents on the chart there. Hope that helps. whoever brought that one up.
No,
I'm
nobody.
actually,
I brought
oh,
it.
right, you brought it up.
I mean, at the end of
What
the
the
day,
hell's Kay?
it's a Max 7. It's below 200 and 300-day SMA. So if it's in your it's in your portfolio, keep adding it, and what you have a 30%, 35% upside potential to the all-time high
Exactly.
from here onwards.
And that's it for the chart requests. Obviously, we didn't get as many as we did normally because I think it is Mother's Day, obviously in the
The
US.
US,
Obviously,
yes.
happy Mother's Day to all the mothers once again. We did mention at the beginning, but we still got a good 4,000 watches, which is great. Just shy of it, which I'm sure will tick over before the end of this live stream. I think going into next week, though, obviously we do have a lot of news points. We've got CPI, PPI, and obviously the news over the weekend around kind of China deals, etc. We've got lots of Fed speakers. And obviously Jerome Powell speaking again on Thursday, which is always fun. So just be careful when you're trading. Keep maybe those kind of target profit zones shorter, more impactful, and just kind of trade what you see in front of you. Don't go in for a long swing trades because it's not that market at the moment. Obviously, massive thank you to Wolf as well. So let's use a platform. We really, really appreciate it. And I'll hand over to you, Kay, so you can finish out the week for this week.
I think you did a phenomenal job on closing. So I don't want
Thank you.
to overcomplicate this. I wish everybody safe trading, enjoy the trading up, and then keep watching the news. This is an entire news event
Yeah.
market these days. So be safe, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Take care, everyone. See you next week.